Now let's put this jigsaw puzzle together. We've got the 3 tiers and we need to stack them on top of each other. And to do that, I did mention right at the beginning that you need to put dowels between each layer. So, for example, if you've got a cake and it's all a 7-inch round cake that you wanted quite high, that would be called a double barrel or a triple barrel, depending how high you were doing it. So it's all one size going up and the sizes holds itself together. It's not going to fall on itself off the weight because the sides are holding each cake in place. But when you're tiering a cake, that means you're putting cakes together that are different sizes. So you've got, say, 10-inch, 8-inch, 7-inch. So the cake is smaller than the outside, so it's going to put pressure on the center and it's going to want to collapse in the center or sink a bit in the center. So you need something to hold it up to the level that you want it to. So you want it to be at that flat level. You need to put stilts underneath. You need to have that solid platform. To do that, you use dowels. So this is what I call dowels. Everyone might call it different, but that's what I call it. There's a couple of different types. So these are wooden dowels, again, cake decorating shops, and you just poke them in. They've always got a pointy end. You poke them in, find the edge, pull it out and cut it off. The thing with the wooden dowels is, though, they are going out of fashion just because everything goes to plastic nowadays, I suppose. So the woodens are going out of fashion. You won't find them for much longer. Instead, there's plastic doweling rods. So I've started using this packet, but these are called doweling rods, 12 pack. So that's that one. And that pack is $12 for, I think, 12 pieces of plastic. So it's quite expensive, but you have to have it. So that's it. So for these, you peel them out. And again, it's the same thing. They're quite easy to cut off. I'm going to show you how to do that. But again, it's pushing them in, finding the place that it sits at, or doing a mark, like a pen mark on it, pulling it out, cutting it off, pushing it back in. That's how you do it. But because I have almost run out of these ones, I've also found these other big ones, which I wanted to show you. So this would be for big cakes that you want these bigger, more solid rods. Not that they're more solid, I suppose. They're just a bigger width, I suppose, or diameter. So these are Wilton brand plastic dowel rods, $6.95 for 4 of them. This is from my local cake decorating shop, or you can get them online. So for these, I suppose you'd use less of these than the thinner plastic rods. And I'm going to use them now to show you. So because of the size of them, what I generally do is do a circumference of dowel rods. So I'd probably do 5 in this size tier, but because of this size, I might go 3. So I wouldn't recommend just 1. I'd recommend a minimum of 3 on any size, because a triangle is a very solid structure. So you're going for solid structures. So it will be pushed in. So I'm going for a triangle shape, in, and one more. Yeah, that should be right there. Okay, so then to get your level, you, like I said, put your thumb there. That's how I do it. Put my thumbnail there. You can see cakes in there. That's absolutely fine. And I'll just see if this knife will cut it. I haven't done it with this knife before. No, I need a serrated edge one. Now for the level, yeah, serrated's a bit better. And you're just going to have to be patient, in all honesty, just backwards and forwards. Now for the level, each caker is different. So some will say just above the fondant line, some will say flush with the fondant line, some will say just under. Pinch of salt either way, in all honesty. I go probably just flush. That's my aim. And it went just under. On cool fat. All right, so we'll go to the next one. Again, using my thumbnail to mark it. You can use a pen if you want to. So holding my thumbnail there and then start cutting away at it. And then spin it around to the other side. Awesome, and then you pop him back in. The only thing would be you wouldn't want each rod to be at a very different level. If one was severely up and one was severely down, you'd want to trim the one that's severely up, because your cake's going to sit that way then too, and you don't want that. That was the only thing. You just want it uniform. Whichever level you have it at, just have it uniform with all the rods. So to cut these other plastic rods as well, it's exactly the same. Serrated edge knife, cut it all halfway through, flip it over, cut the other side, and it'll just snap. It snaps very easily. The wooden ones are a little bit harder. You're going to want to find your man's tools to cut that one up. All right, push that down. And good, it's just under the fondant line as well. That one's just a millimetre higher, but I think that'll be okay. All right, so that's how you use dowels. Very, very easy. All right, so to stack the cake now. So you've got the doweling done, so it's going to be a nice, solid foundation for your second tier. You're going to want a little bit of glue. So I'm just going to use ganache. Most people use ganache, buttercream, or royal icing. Again, it's a pinch of salt, any which way, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you've got around. All right, got a nice layer. Now we're going to put the second tier on. So with the Topsy Turvy, you want your big side, your long side on this one, and then you go opposite. So you're doing that Topsy Turvy Mad Hatter look that it's wobbly each way. So it's going to have to go on that way. Now, to get it on, now this cake I've just decorated, just covered, so the fondant's not set yet. Normally I would wait till the fondant to set, so a couple of hours in air conditioning, and then put it on, because you're less likely to get finger marks on it. But we don't have that luxury today, so we're just going to pop him on. I'm going to see how much the fondant moves. So I'm peeling it off the edge of the turntable, peeling it back, lifting it up, and peeling that paper away. All right, so it felt pretty good. So I'm just going to use my hand rather than a palette knife. And you're just going to have to aim for the outside. Aim for where you want it to sit. So I just got some chocolate on my hand I want to get rid of, because I don't want it to go on the icing. And then it's a bit of a smooching action. You want to smoosh it in there. So you can see it rippled a little bit there where it was a little bit too tight of a fit. Doesn't matter, because you're just going to cover that with a border anyway, which is exactly the same as down here. And again, I've got a bit of ganache there because it wasn't quite tucked in enough. Doesn't matter, it's going to be covered by the border. All right, so you're trying to just get it flush up here, so it's nice and solid in there, and it's pretty good. All right, I'm moving it around a fair bit, but that's all right. And I'll smooch that one in again. Awesome. See, that was what I was saying about the angles. You want that big angle, then you want that big angle. So now we're going to dowel this tier as well. Yeah, he looks pretty solid. I might go these big dowels again just because they were fun. Haven't used them before. And for this level, I think I'm going to go 3 again because one's just not solid enough. Just making sure that's pushed all the way down. Yeah. All right, so we just do the same again. 1, 2, 3. You do want 2 cakes for each tier is because you do lose a fair bit of cake in your indents, in your severe angles. If you only do 1 cake, most of your cake's lost in there, and it looks a bit silly in all honesty. So then you've got cake this side, and then you're going to have cake showing out the top rather than losing it within each indent, I suppose. So again, I'm using my thumb to measure where I'm cutting. Serrated edge knife. Oops. And put him back in again. Yeah, and it's just under the fondant line. Now this level actually looks like it's indented a little bit, so I'm going to just make sure I do this rod a little bit higher, I think, than the fondant, so the tier above sitting flat. I'll pop that one in there. I'll smooch some of the cake up. It doesn't matter, it's going to be covered. There we are, so that one's a little bit higher, and then this side I want to make sure it's a little bit lower. Oops, my bad. All right, and then we pop that one back in. So I'm just going to make sure I've got no chocolate on my hands because I'm about to grab the next tier. Yeah, so it's just lower than the fondant, and so the cake can sit down at a even level, even layer. All right, so we're going to glue it up again. So put another layer of ganache just for the cake to sit on, and then we're going to pop the top tier on. So I'd pre-decorated these layers because it can be quite time consuming. It would take approximately 8 hours to decorate this cake. It is time consuming. So I couldn't do it all in front of the camera, so I pre-decorated the bottom and top tier. You can see on this cake, it's not perfect by any means. I did have a bit of rippling and tearing. That's why I ended up doing these drips on the cake. And there's two ways to fix it. One would be recover it in fondant, so recover it in the green fondant. And the other way is just cover it with your decorations. So when I did that, I knew I was doing this effect on the buttercream, on the fondant. I thought, well, why don't I just do some drips and cover where it had torn and you could see the ganache. So I actually ended up liking that design better. And the other thing, with right down the bottom here with these ripples, half of it's going to be hidden in this cake. The other half is going to be covered by a border, so it really doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, people aren't going to notice, and it's still going to taste amazing. So don't stress about these things. And it did rub a little bit in the cake box as I was delivering today, but these things happen. Alrighty, so I'm going to get this one on now. And again, I think this one should be set because I pre-decorated it. So I'm just going to be nice and gentle with it. All right, and tuck it in there just the same as that purple tier. All right, and wiggle it backwards and forwards. And I think I've got it slightly at the wrong angle. I need to twist it a bit because you want that severe angle directly opposite. And like I said, you lose half of the mistakes just there. The other half's going to be covered by border. Really is. All right, so wiggle it in place. And check your angles. And I'm really happy with that. That's a stacked 3-tiered cake. So we've got some final decorations now. We've got a border to do, but then it's done.